Hey, today we're going to be going through a Dither material, showing you how step by step how to make it. I'm not seeing a lot of tutorials on Dither shading in Unreal Engine 5, and I just think through my process going through it, making a tutorial will be helpful to a lot of beginner artists. So with this material, we're going to be able to change colors, change the intensity of the shadows and whatnot, change pixel size, as well as underlay materials in the dithering to get this kind of effect. Before we begin, I would suggest that you do create a post-processing material for a tone mapper, which is super simple. I'm not going to go into crazy depth on why it works, but post-process input 0. You want to select that over here on your scene texture and make sure that the actual material is a post-process. So you're going to go down here, click post-process. And then you're also going to make sure that for blendable location, this will be replacing the tone mapper. So again, that we're just gonna put that in our post process. We're gonna make sure, I always make sure exposure is on manual. But we are gonna go to material. We're gonna go to this array. We're gonna add one. We're gonna put this ppm tone mapper in, and I'll show you the difference. If you like this kind of look, that's for you. But I always like the more saturated colors than Unreal Engine initially gives you. So this is what we're going to be going with today. And I would also suggest going in edit up here, going to your project settings and turning off motion blur, nanite, and lumen. They aren't as good with the style, the retro style, and I always suggest turning those off for anything in this sort of realm of visuals in Unreal Engine, especially with all these pixels. That motion blur is going to make this look terrible in motion. But without that motion blur, you get a much more doable look that I think turns out pretty well. So now to get started on the actual material, we are going to right click on our content browser and make a material. Let's name this m underscore master dither. We are going to make this a master material. So we're going to be able to instance it and put this on multiple different objects just from one material. Alright. Oh, we don't need our tone mapper anymore. Alright. I want this in here. Okay, so we are going to be doing a little bit of programming, which can be scary if you've never done it, but I promise it's super simple, and it is going to be a cakewalk if it's your first time, because you have me here. So we're going to get rid of everything in the custom node. Just right click and type in custom. It should be the only thing that comes up. And now it should go all crazy like this. Don't worry about that. I am going to copy and paste this since I'm not the fastest typer. Alright, so this is going to be all of our code. We're basically floating our light intensity. This is going to be only referenced inside of here for our gradient amount, which is the saturated version. But this is going to be getting the normals of the world, as well as the light direction, and making kind of fake shadows. We're going to lerp this with two colors to kind of get a gradient across this shadow. So it's pretty simple. Just to make sure we have some things that aren't called for in here, so we have to make an input. So we are going to add 4 inputs, is what we need. So get all of these. We're going to need our normal WS. See how this is exactly like this. We need same capitalization, same wording, everything to be referenced inside of here. So that's all we're doing right now is creating inputs to reference inside of this custom node if you're a little lost. Light direction we have in here, and then we have highlight, and we have shadow. Alright, so those all match up. And now I need a parameter. We're going to call that in a second. So we're going to convert this. We're going to call this not highlight, light intensity. And above it, we're going to get our sky atmosphere light direction. So this is referencing the light index 0. You can find that in Windows light mixer. You can see which light it's referencing, but just do your directional light for the most simple look. You can change it around make this for separate light instances inside of your game, but for the most simple technique, we're just going to be using the directional light, and we're going to multiply this by our light intensity. And I would suggest default value of 1, just so you don't mess with anything. And we're going to plug that into our light direction. We're also going to right click again, get our pixel normal WS, and plug that in to our normal WS. Right here, we're going to hold down 3. We're going to click once, click twice. These are all left clicks. We're going to plug this into highlight, plug this into shadow. I'm going to right click this and make this highlight. And it doesn't matter what you name these, they don't have to be the exact. Oh, this is not a highlight, this is a shadow. Alright, and I'm just going to make this white so that once we plug everything in, we can see it. So this is all we need for the first part of our dithering material. And I always want to keep things clean, you should too. We're going to left click and drag over everything. We're going to hold C, or not hold C, we're going to click C. We're going to just type in that this is our shadows. So this is going to be creating our shadows, our colors for the shadows, kind of our base material for this material that we're going to overlay some dithering on and some textures. So we have our shadows. Let's go up to our dithering. So this one's pretty simple. We're going to get a screen position, and we're going to divide this by another parameter. So hold 1, left click, and we're going to convert to parameter. So I'm going to call this pixel amount. This is just going to change how big our dithering texture is, if that makes sense. I like 128 for my specific material. It's just finding the number, really. I would suggest going in 16 intervals, so 16, 32, 65, those kind of numbers with pixels, but you can go out of it if you want. I can't stop you. So we are gonna take actually a texture sample that you need to download offline. I chose a Bayer version of dithering. It's just a lot more uniform and just kind of the most widespread way to use it. This one I picked. There's a lot of different materials you can use. Find what you like online, put it in here, doesn't matter. Just as long as you got one, it's gonna work. So we're gonna put our texture sample in here, and you can also actually, before I go on, you can right click, make this a parameter, and use different dithering, but we'll see how to do that with our textures. So we're actually going to step these two together. So you're going to take our custom node, put it in X. We're going to take our texture sample with all of this plugged into the UVs, and we're going to saturate it. And for the most basic look, we have this kind of thing. So we plug this into base color. You should see this. If you're having any issues, it's probably in this code here. So just pause the video if you're having any issues. If not, this is what everything looks like, and we are going to get this. So now that we have that, let me go to our scene here. I am going to put in another teapot. Oh, it's too tiny. Let's just do it on this one right here. So let's put our new dither on it. So to do that, make sure that we save it. And we are going to right click on it and create a material instance. So let's call this m_dither_teapot. We're going to throw this onto here. You're going to see it reacts to the lighting in the scene, which is coming from not actually there. It's coming from, no, it is actually there. Nice. So you see it's going on. We have this white and black. But luckily, if we click on this, we're able to change it. So let me make this smaller so we can see both at the same time. So we do have our parameters here. We can group these up. I'll show that in a second once I get textures, but just to showcase, you can change the size of this You know, make it really small. But again, I like 128. I think that looks the best. We also change the light intensity, which is going to increase those shadows or decrease the shadows. But I'm just going to keep that at 1 for simplicity's sake. And the funnest part is we can make this colors. So let's make it green just for fun. And we can make this side purple. So now we have this kind of gradient from the green to the purple. I would suggest just playing around with the gradients, see what works. And this is going to be good for any object you put in that doesn't have a texture under it. Now, if we do want to work on something like this that has this texture, we're going to have to add a little more to the material, which isn't too difficult. So let's go back to our master. And we are going to add a texture. So I'm just going to start, we're going to use this payphone I have. And we are going to use a blend overlay. So blend underscore over, over. There we go. We're going to plug this into the blend, plug this into the base, or like that. And we're actually going to use a switch parameter, which, like all of our other parameters, lets us switch between two things. So I'm just going to say is texture. It's going to be our parameter. Let's, if true, it's going to have this material. So let's use this as a parameter as well. We're going to be able to change this in that instance, so it's not always going to be this payphone texture. It can use any texture you have in your content drawer. And for false, we are just going to take the saturate, plug it in, and we are now able to plug that all into base color. So default value is false, just so that it's always the base color first, and then it's going to have that texture under it if we hit true, which we're going to be able to do in our instance. So save that, and let's make sure before we do that, I want to keep things clean. We're going to comment, we're going to do our dithering. We're just going to pull this back, and this can be our texture. Alright, so now that all that's set, we're going to save again. We're going to go back here. So let's say, let me get rid of the material on this. So we're going to have this, and I'm going to create another material instance. Let's call this M underscore dither underscore payphone. Alright, we're going to throw this on there. Which you can also do over here if you feel like it, but let's click on that. Make it little so that we can see it next to it. So we see it does have that material on it. And we are just going to add a texture. So you're going to click on this box here and click that. Now we're going to see this come up. If you wanted to change it, you'd be able to change it. Let's say for some reason I wanted this on there. But we're going to go to our material right here, put that in. We're going to be able to change all that same stuff. As you can see, changing the lighting on it, it's going to change the color. So if I wanted a blue light, maybe a warm shadow, we can kind of change how that looks. So that's the basics of this dither material. Hopefully this is helpful. If you have any questions about any of it, please ask in the comments. I will try to get back about any issues. But this should be a pretty concise tutorial on how to create something really simple. There's a lot you can add on to this. There's a lot you can do, but just for the base, I think this is a good stopping point. Thank you guys so much.